Gotta lower this a little bit for sure. Good morning. My name is Lee Orwig. I'm a survivor of domestic violence and premeditated attempted murder by my ex-husband. I'm here today to discuss the integral part that Cornerstone has played in helping me and my daughter get through a horrifying experience that lasted for well over a decade during my marriage, throughout my divorce, and afterwards. I am also here to let other victims and survivors of any type of abuse and violence know that they are not alone. Domestic violence does not discriminate against anyone. Domestic violence is a universal epidemic that affects individuals in every community regardless of age, economic status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. Victims of domestic violence become trapped in a silent prison that slowly kills them second by second, word by word, and too often punch by punch. I'm here to help end the silence. Over the decades, I suffered from every single form of domestic violence and abuse at the hands of my now ex-husband. He knowingly isolated me from my family, friends, and our bank accounts years before the divorce started. I was stuck, and quite honestly, I was terrified. Just over 3 years ago, my ex-husband snuck into my home while I was outside getting our special needs child on the bus for school. He ambushed me when I came back inside my own home. He tried to murder me in 3 different ways on the morning of November 6, 2014. He inflicted over 2 hours of torture on me. After he bludgeoned my head, he tried to strangle me to death. And after I started playing dead, he tried forcibly drugging me. I was sent home alone from the emergency room with 23 staples in my head, with matted down bloody hair, because I wasn't allowed to take a shower in the emergency room. No one from social work, psychiatry, trauma, or domestic abuse approached me at the hospital to offer comfort or the resources I would need to heal from my attack. Unfortunately, this problem is prevalent nationwide, and there are too many hospitals and clinics that have much work to do to improve their care for patients who've experienced domestic violence and abuse. That day, I was very fortunate to have survived. It took me 2 years before I could muster the courage and find the words to write a letter to the CEO of the hospital to inquire about why no one had ever reached out to me. Upon my request, and over 2 years later, I was given a phone number to their non-existent domestic violence or domestic abuse hotline. I'm so tired of being asked the question, why didn't you just leave? This unfair blame is frequently placed on the victims of domestic violence and abuse because of the assumption that victims choose to stay in an abusive relationship. It simply isn't that easy. The truth is, bringing an end to abuse is not a matter of the victim choosing to leave. It is a matter of the victim being able to safely escape their abuser while being able to stay alive and protect their children. Domestic violence does not always manifest as physical and sexual abuse. Financial, emotional, and psychological abuse can often be just as extreme as physical violence. Lack of physical violence does not mean the abuser is any less dangerous to the victim, nor does it mean the victim is any less trapped by the abuser. Emotional and psychological abuse are too often overlooked because they are intangible entities. When my ex-husband was finally put in jail after November 6, 2014, I thought, wow, all it took was for him to almost kill me for people to finally understand and believe just how serious his abuse was. For the first time in a very long time, I truly sobbed tears of relief and was able to experience a little peace. For his heinous and nefarious crime, my ex-husband was charged with premeditated attempted murder, aggravated assault, and burglary with the intent to cause severe bodily injury. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, he was only convicted for aggravated assault and was only in prison for 2 years. By law, he was then allowed to appeal his minor conviction. By law, I was then allowed to do nothing. He's now out of prison and has been since last September, and his reign of terror and scorched earth war against me continues. While I walked away from this odious crime with my daughter and my life, I will now also carry the weight of a large target on my forehead for the rest of my life. The day of his minor conviction for such a horrible crime gave me, his victim, a life sentence. There have been many sleepless nights where I lay in bed and try to close my eyes to turn off the horrific memories, I think about the times my anxiety has reached the level of sheer panic as a result of his crime. I have had to quit my part-time job and turn others down due to my extreme fear of being in a public parking lot alone. What this has done to us financially is beyond devastating, and I alone have a special needs daughter to provide for. We have no money. I have been asked how I survived that day. For over 17 years now, my daughter has woken the sun up for me every single day with her bright and shining smile. She looks outside every morning just so she can remind me that she has woken the sun up for me again. She is the true and pure definition of beauty. No, she's not perfect, and neither am I. We never claim to be. In fact, we are happy being perfectly imperfect. That's what makes us human. She is the nicest and most amazing person I have ever known. Just the thought of her is what saved my life that day. And unfortunately, she could not be here with me today, but I just want you all to know that she is my hero. Many people ask me how I remain so level-headed and so strong. My answer is simple. I have to remain strong and level-headed because my life depends on it. My daughter's life depends on it. So what is a cornerstone? Defined, a cornerstone is an important feature on which a particular thing depends. This organization lives up to its name. They are the solid base that communities of individuals and families depend on to help them find safety where children can thrive. Cornerstone is here to help victims of domestic violence, sexual violence, human trafficking, and those of general violence. This is their mission. Over the years, Cornerstone has helped me derive a safety plan, helped me keep track of every single stalking criminal event that my ex-husband committed. They have provided me with free, needed legal help, given us much-needed food items. They have given us a safe Christmas party with gifts for not just my child, but for me as well. They have helped me gain multiple orders for protection, including my current 50-year order for protection against my ex-husband. They have helped me become a member of the Safe at Home program through the Secretary of State so that my address is now confidential. And they even joined me for a safety planning meeting at the Edina Police Department to lend their valuable expertise of how I could stay safe upon the release of my ex-husband from prison. This organization is invaluable. Every single person I have worked with at Cornerstone, and there are many, cares and goes out of their way to help people like me feel safe and cared about. I couldn't have navigated the terrifyingly turbulent storms that I have without Cornerstone. When people donate to a fundraiser such as this one, it is so important for them to know where their money is going and to also know that it really is helping a lot of people who need it. I am a living testimony of their fundraising, of how their fundraising helps us. Going back to the first time I reached out to Cornerstone, I have to be honest, if it hadn't been for the Edina Police and this card that they gave me, with my case number and the phone number to Cornerstone on the back, I would never have known that Cornerstone existed. I'm here to say that I believe in the power of survivors. I believe in the power of naming what is happening in our communities. I believe in listening to survivors, victims, and their loved ones. I also believe that Cornerstone helps victims and their families stop merely existing by showing them the way so that they can start living. Thank you.